welcome. Take a breath. If you're here right now, you're probably carrying more than you show. There's a moment most people don't talk about. It happens quietly. In a parking lot after work. In the kitchen when the house is finally still. When someone says something sharp. Or life doesn't go the way you planned. And for a split second, everything in you wants to react. You feel it in your chest, in your jaw. That familiar urge to defend, to explain, to strike back. But sometimes you don't. You stand there. The words are still ringing. The emotion is loud. And yet you choose nothing. Not because you're weak, not because you're afraid, but because something in you understands this moment matters more than the noise. Most people think strength is what you do next. They're wrong. Strength is what you don't do. Tonight, we're going to talk about that moment. The moment you didn't react. Why it changes who you become. And how the old Stoics learned to build an unshakable mind right there. In the space between impulse and action. That space you felt a moment ago doesn't stay quiet for long. Because once the noise outside fades, another noise usually steps in. Quieter, sharper, relentless. It shows up late at night when the house is dark and the phone is face down on the table. When the day is finally over, but your mind refuses to clock out. You replay a sentence you shouldn't have said. A look someone gave you. A decision you keep second guessing. Nothing is happening. And yet everything feels heavy. That's the war no one sees. From the outside, your life might look fine. You show up. You do what needs to be done. You keep your word. People assume you're steady. But inside, there's a running commentary you didn't ask for. You should be further by now. Why did you let that slide? You're falling behind. Everyone else seems to have it figured out. The strange part is this: the world isn't attacking you in those moments. Your own mind is. The Stoics noticed this long before modern psychology put a name to it. They watched men endure wars, exile illness and loss, and still sleep at night. Not because their lives were easy, but because they understood where suffering actually comes from. Marcus Aurelius wrote this to himself, not as a quote for others, but as a reminder in the middle of pressure. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your judgment about it. That line sounds calm on paper, but it lands differently when you're living it. What he meant was simple and uncomfortable. Events hit everyone. Disappointment hits everyone. But the endless suffering begins when the mind grabs the event and refuses to let it rest. Think about how often the body is safe, but the mind is on high alert. You're sitting on your couch, yet your chest is tight. You're driving home, yet your jaw is clenched. You're not in danger, but your thoughts are acting like you are. This is the invisible battlefield, not between you and the world, but between impulse and awareness. Stoicism doesn't ask you to silence your thoughts. That's not realistic. Thoughts appear the way weather does. What it teaches is something far more practical. You don't have to treat every thought as an order. There is a difference between a thought showing up and you signing off on it. Most people never notice that gap. They feel a thought, believe it, and react as if it were law. I feel like I failed becomes I am a failure. I feel unwanted becomes I don't matter. The Stoic work begins right there, in noticing the separation. You can hear the thought without handing it the keys. This is not about positive thinking. It's about accurate thinking, clear thinking. When you see the war for what it is, something shifts. You stop trying to win arguments in your head. You stop chasing every mental alarm. And slowly, quietly, the battlefield shrinks. Not because life got easier, but because you stopped fighting shadows. The world is hard enough. You don't need your own mind turning against you. And once you understand that you're ready to learn the first discipline that gives you your ground back. Once you stop fighting shadows, you begin to notice something subtle. The noise doesn't disappear, but it changes location. It's no longer everywhere. It's somewhere specific. You hear a sentence form in your head while brushing your teeth, a judgment while driving to work, a quiet accusation while lying in bed staring at the ceiling. You catch it mid-sentence, and for the first time, you don't answer it right away. That pause reveals a truth most people miss their entire lives. You are not the voice in your head. If you were, you wouldn't be able to hear it. Think about that. The voice comments, it criticizes, it predicts worst-case scenarios, it replays old mistakes like a scratched record. But something else is present too. Something steady. Something watching. That watcher doesn't shout. It doesn't panic. It notices. That distinction is everything. Most suffering doesn't come from what happens to you. It comes from the moment you confuse the voice with yourself. A thought says, "You messed that up." And without realizing it, you reply, "I am a mess." A thought says, "They don't respect you." And suddenly, your whole posture changes. The Stoics were clear about this long before therapy rooms and neuroscience. They observed that the mind produces impressions automatically, images, thoughts, reactions. You don't choose the first impression, but you do choose what happens next. Epictetus put it plainly. It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. That doesn't mean the thought is harmless. It means the thought is unfinished. It only becomes truth when you sign your name under it. Picture your thoughts like emails hitting your inbox. Some are useful. Some are spam. Some look urgent, but aren't. If you respond to every message immediately, your day is gone. But if you learn to read without replying, you regain control. This isn't about suppressing thoughts. It's about recognizing roles. The voice is a narrator. You are the editor. The narrator speaks fast, emotional, dramatic. It fills in gaps with fear. It borrows memories from the past and projects them into the future. The editor works slower. It asks one quiet question. Is this accurate? Not, is this comfortable? Accurate. That question alone creates distance. You start to notice moments like this. A thought appears, saying you're falling behind. And instead of arguing with it, you label it. There's the comparison voice. There's the fear voice. There's the old memory talking. You don't insult it. You don't fight it. You acknowledge it the way you acknowledge a passing siren. Heard, not obeyed. This is the Stoic observer stance. Not detached, not cold, clear. And clarity brings relief without numbing you. You still feel disappointment. You still feel pressure. But those feelings stop defining you. There's a difference between feeling pain and becoming pain. Between experiencing doubt and living as doubt. Once you see that difference, something stabilizes inside you. You no longer rush to defend every thought. You don't treat every inner voice like a command from authority. You begin to live from the watcher instead of the noise. And that is the first real freedom. Because when you are no longer fused with the voice, you gain something far more powerful than calm. You gain choice. And choice is where discipline begins. Choice is where discipline begins. And discipline is tested fastest when the pressure hits. It rarely announces itself. No countdown, no warning. It happens in ordinary places. An email lands with a tone you don't like. A comment slips out at the dinner table. Someone cuts you off on the highway. A coworker questions your competence in front of others. Your body reacts before your mind catches up. Heat in the chest, tightness in the throat. That familiar surge that says, say something, do something. This is the window most people miss. 10 seconds. That's all it is. Sometimes less. In those 10 seconds, your nervous system wants relief. It wants release. It wants to prove something. And if you let it run the show, it usually gets what it wants in the moment. A sharp reply, a defensive explanation, a look that escalates things. What it doesn't get is peace afterward. The Stoics didn't believe character was built through grand gestures. They believed it was shaped in these exact moments, quietly, repeatedly. Marcus Aurelius described this as guarding the ruling part of the mind, not controlling the world, not controlling other people, just protecting that inner command center from being hijacked. Here's the part most modern advice skips. Pausing isn't about calming down. It's about choosing who you're going to be after this moment passes. Every reaction teaches your mind a lesson. It says, this is how we handle pressure. And the mind remembers. If you react with impulse, you train yourself to be impulsive. If you react with restraint, you train yourself to be steady. That training compounds. You can see it in men who've practiced it for years. They don't rush to fill silence. They don't explain themselves to people who've already decided. They don't escalate every challenge. Not because they're detached, but because they're selective. They know something most people learn too late. Not every moment deserves your energy, but every moment is shaping your reputation with yourself. Think about the last time you held your tongue. Not out of fear, out of clarity. You walked away without winning the argument, but you slept better that night. That's not an accident. Stoicism doesn't ask you to swallow injustice or become passive. It asks you to respond deliberately. There's a difference. Reaction is fast and loud. Response is slower and precise. Reaction asks, how do I protect my ego right now? Response asks, what action aligns with my values? Those 10 seconds are where that question lives. And you don't need to solve everything in that space. You only need to do one thing. Delay. Delay the reply. Delay the explanation. Delay the defense. Tell yourself, I'll decide this in a minute. That minute changes everything. Because when the first wave passes, something clearer steps in. Perspective, proportion, self-respect. This is how discipline actually works, not through force, through restraint, not through intensity, through consistency. Every time you choose response over reaction, you reinforce an identity. The kind of man who doesn't give his power away for momentary relief. Those 10 seconds don't just define what happens next. They define who you're becoming. And once you understand that you stop rushing through them, you stand there, you breathe, you choose. And that choice stays with you long after the moment is gone. You can hold your ground for 10 seconds, but the real test begins after that. Because once the reaction is delayed, another habit shows up. The habit of arguing with what already happened. It sounds reasonable at first, quiet, persistent. This shouldn't have gone this way. They shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't be here right now. If only I had done something different. You don't raise your voice. You don't slam doors. But inside, you're negotiating with the past, and the past never responds. Reality doesn't argue back. It just stands there, unmoved, unapologetic. Most frustration isn't caused by events themselves. It's caused by the demand that events should have been different. A project falls apart after months of work. A relationship ends without the closure you wanted. A plan you trusted quietly collapses. The mind immediately goes to work, trying to rewrite the scene, replaying conversations, imagining better outcomes, running through alternate timelines where things turned out right. But all of that effort is spent pushing against a wall that doesn't move. The Stoics were blunt about this, not because they lacked compassion, but because they understood where energy is wasted. Epictetus said it clearly. Do not seek to have events happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do happen, and your life will go smoothly. That line is often misunderstood. It doesn't mean you approve of what happened. It doesn't mean you pretend it didn't hurt. It means you stop fighting the fact that it already exists. Acceptance is not surrender, it's alignment. Think about standing in the rain. You can curse the sky. You can replay the forecast in your head. You can tell yourself this shouldn't be happening. None of it changes the water on your shoulders. Or you can acknowledge the rain. Pull your jacket tighter and keep moving. The second choice doesn't make you weaker. It makes you effective. Stoicism teaches this distinction because it's practical. Pain arrives on its own schedule. Suffering begins when resistance joins it. Resistance sounds like judgment. This is unfair. This ruined everything. This shouldn't be part of my story. And yet, it is. The moment you accept that something shifts, your energy stops leaking backward. Your attention comes home to the present. There's a quiet sentence the Stoics return to again and again, not as philosophy, as a tool, but it did happen. So now, what that sentence cuts clean. It doesn't comfort you. It restores your position. You move from victim to participant, from replay to response. This is where dignity lives, not in denying disappointment, but in refusing to let disappointment decide the rest of your life. Acceptance clears the fog so action can begin. You stop asking why this happened to you and start asking what this moment requires of you. Sometimes the answer is rest. Sometimes it's distance. Sometimes it's a hard conversation. Sometimes it's letting go without explanation. Stoicism doesn't promise a life without setbacks. It offers something more useful, a way to meet reality without collapsing into it. When you stop arguing with what is, you regain the strength to shape what comes next. And that strength doesn't announce itself. It shows up quietly, in your posture, in your decisions, in your ability to keep moving forward without bitterness. Reality doesn't argue back. Once you accept that you stop wasting words on the past and start choosing your next step with clarity. Once you stop arguing with reality, another habit comes into view. It's quieter, more dangerous. The habit of storytelling. A message goes unanswered. A meeting ends shorter than expected. A promotion doesn't come through. Those are facts. They sting, but they're clean. What happens next is where the damage begins. Your mind fills the silence. It always does. They're ignoring me. I'm not valued here. I knew I wasn't cut out for this. This always happens to me. None of that was in the event itself. It was added afterward. Facts hurt. Stories destroy. You can feel the difference if you slow down enough to notice it. The fact lands once. The story replays all night. The fact is sharp, brief. The story is heavy, endless. The Stoics paid close attention to this distinction because it was the difference between pain and unnecessary suffering. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are pained by anything external, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your judgment about it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." That isn't philosophy meant to impress. It's a warning. Most people don't realize how often they confuse observation with interpretation. The observation is simple. My boss didn't respond today. The interpretation sneaks in quietly. I must be on thin ice. I'm probably being phased out. By the time you notice your body is already tense, your shoulders are tight, your breathing is shallow, your confidence has dipped, and nothing new has actually happened. This is how the mind turns a neutral gap into a personal verdict. Stoicism doesn't ask you to become optimistic. It asks you to become precise. Precision begins by separating what happened from what you told yourself about it. One is real. The other is optional. Here's what that looks like in practice. You sit down and write the event in one sentence. No adjectives, no conclusions. The email has not been answered in 2 days. That's it. Then you write the story that followed. They don't respect me. I'm failing. I always get overlooked. When you see it on the page, something becomes obvious. The second list is doing all the emotional damage. The Stoics called this revoking assent, not agreeing with the first explanation your mind offers. Not because the mind is evil, but because it's biased toward threat. It's trying to protect you by predicting pain. But it often overshoots. A story feels convincing because it's familiar. It borrows old memories, old disappointments, old identities. That doesn't make it accurate. Accuracy is quieter than fear. Accuracy asks questions instead of making declarations. Do I know this for certain? What evidence am I missing? Have I ever delayed a response for reasons that had nothing to do with the other person? These questions don't erase discomfort. They keep it from turning into a verdict on who you are. You begin to realize how often your suffering came from conclusions you never verified. This isn't self-gaslighting, it's self-respect. You stop letting untested stories run your life. You don't replace them with positive slogans. You replace them with restraint. You let the fact be the fact, no more, no less. When you do that consistently, something steadies inside you. You become harder to destabilize, not because nothing hurts, but because fewer things are allowed to define you. Facts will always show up. Deadlines, losses, delays. But the stories you attach to them are a choice. And once you see that clearly, you stop handing your peace over to fiction. You don't deny reality. You meet it cleanly. And that alone changes how heavy life feels. Once you stop letting stories run unchecked, another influence becomes impossible to ignore. Your surroundings, not the big dramatic ones. The quiet, everyday inputs you barely notice. The voices playing in the background. The screens you scroll without thinking. The rooms you sit in. The people you spend your unguarded time with. None of it feels decisive in the moment, and that's exactly why it works. You wake up and reach for your phone. A headline pulls you into outrage. A clip feeds comparison. A comment plants doubt. By the time you're out the door, your mind is already crowded. You didn't choose to be tense. You absorbed it. The Stoics understood this long before algorithms and notifications. They spoke about the mind the way a farmer speaks about soil. Whatever you allow in will grow. Seneca warned his students to be careful about their company, not because people were bad, but because moods and values are contagious. Spend enough time around bitterness, and it starts to sound reasonable. Stay in chaos long enough and calm begins to feel foreign. This isn't about becoming isolated or judgmental. It's about responsibility. You don't let random strangers decide how you dress or eat. Yet many people let random inputs decide how they think. Think about your physical space. A cluttered desk, half-finished tasks, lights on too late, noise that never shuts off. Your body reads that environment as a signal. Stay alert. Stay tense. Something's wrong. The mind follows. Stoicism is often misunderstood as purely internal work, but the Stoics were practical. They knew discipline outside supports discipline inside. Order isn't about control, it's about relief. A clean space doesn't solve your problems. It removes friction. The same is true for what you consume mentally. If your downtime is filled with arguments, outrage, and constant comparison, your inner dialogue will mirror that tone. Sharp, defensive, restless. And then you wonder why peace feels so far away. What you consume becomes the raw material your thoughts are built from. This isn't about cutting everything out. It's about choosing deliberately. Stoic restraint isn't dramatic. It's quiet. You notice which conversations leave you drained, which ones leave you steady. You notice which content sharpens you and which content keeps you stuck in reaction. You begin to edit, not because you're superior, but because your mind matters. There's a simple practice here, and it doesn't require a life overhaul. For a week, reduce exposure to anything that feeds anger, envy, or helplessness. Not forever, just long enough to feel the difference. Clean one space you spend time in. Unfollow a few accounts that trigger comparison. Spend more time around people who speak with clarity, not constant complaint. Watch what happens, not to the world, to you. Your thoughts slow down. Your reactions soften. Your baseline steadies. Not because life improved overnight, but because you stopped feeding the storm. The Stoics didn't seek peace by escaping the world. They sought it by shaping their environment with intention. They understood a simple truth most people resist. You don't rise to the level of your intentions. You sink to the level of your inputs. Choose them carefully, because the man you become tomorrow is already being trained by what you allow into your mind today. Once you begin choosing your inputs with care, another truth settles in. Sometimes the problem isn't your mindset, it's your exhaustion. You wake up already behind. Coffee instead of breakfast. Screens before sunlight. One obligation stacked on top of the next. By the end of the day, your patience is gone. Your thoughts are sharp. Your tolerance is thin, and you start questioning everything. Your choices, your relationships, your future. It feels like something is wrong with you, but often nothing is broken. You're just tired. The Stoics understood this in a way that feels almost modern. They didn't treat the mind as separate from the body. They knew that a worn-down body produces distorted thinking. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that distress doesn't come from events alone, but from the way the mind interprets them. What's often missed is this: a depleted mind interprets everything as a threat. When you're exhausted, neutral comments feel personal. Small setbacks feel permanent. Silence feels like rejection. Not because reality changed, because your capacity did. There's a quiet pressure in American culture to push through at all costs, to grind, to prove something, to stay productive even when the tank is empty. Rest gets labeled as weakness, or laziness, or something you earn after everything else is done. The Stoic view is different. Rest isn't an escape from discipline. It's part of it. Discipline isn't just knowing when to act. It's knowing when to stop. A soldier doesn't sharpen his blade endlessly without letting the metal cool. An athlete doesn't train hard every day without recovery. And yet many people expect their minds to perform without pause. They try to think their way out of burnout. They analyze, they plan, they replay, all while the nervous system is begging for quiet. There are moments when the most rational move isn't another insight. It's sleep, a walk without headphones, a meal eaten slowly, an evening where nothing is optimized. This isn't indulgence, it's maintenance. Stoicism isn't about being unfeeling, it's about being accurate, and fatigue lies to you. It tells you you're failing when you're simply drained. It tells you you've lost direction when you've just lost energy. Epictetus warned against trying to learn when the mind is already full, not full of knowledge, full of noise. A crowded mind can't see straight, so the discipline here is simple and it's humbling. Notice when your thoughts darken late at night. Notice when everything feels heavier after a long week. Notice when irritability spikes after poor sleep. Don't judge it. Diagnose it. Ask one honest question. Do I need a solution right now? Or do I need rest? Sometimes, the most stoic move is to close the laptop, to say no to one more demand, to give your nervous system a break before asking it to be wise. This doesn't mean avoiding responsibility. It means preserving your ability to meet it. When you rest with intention, something shifts. Your thoughts slow down. Your reactions soften. Your perspective widens. Not because life suddenly got easier, but because you're meeting it with a clearer mind. You're not broken, you're overextended, and learning when to rest isn't quitting. It's choosing to return stronger, steadier, and more capable of living by the values you've been training all along. When your energy returns and your footing feels steadier, another practice becomes possible. Not as a mood, not as a performance, as protection. Gratitude is often misunderstood. People think it's about forcing optimism, about pretending things don't hurt. That's not what the Stoics meant. They treated gratitude as armor, because when the mind fixates on what's missing, it becomes easy to manipulate, easy to provoke, easy to exhaust. Lack creates tunnel vision. You can see it when everything starts to feel personal. When one delay overshadows 10 things that are working. When a single loss erases years of progress in your memory. Nothing actually vanished. Your focus narrowed. Seneca warned that poverty isn't having too little. It's craving more than you need. That craving doesn't just apply to money. It applies to approval, certainty, control. When the mind is locked onto what it doesn't have yet, it becomes restless. And restlessness is fragile. Gratitude interrupts that pattern, not by denying ambition, but by grounding perspective. Think of a night when everything feels heavy, the future uncertain, the past louder than usual. Now imagine naming just one thing that is solid. Not impressive. Solid. A body that carried you through the day. A roof that kept the cold out. A person who answered when you needed them. A skill you built quietly over time. Nothing dramatic changes in the room, but something changes in you. Your breath deepens. Your shoulders drop a fraction. The urgency eases. That's not coincidence. Gratitude pulls you out of abstraction and back into reality. Stoicism doesn't ask you to ignore hardship. It asks you to see the whole picture. Pain exists. So does support. Loss exists. So does survival. Gratitude doesn't erase what's wrong. It prevents what's wrong from becoming the entire story. This matters because the mind is always telling a story. And stories shape behavior. A mind trained only on lack becomes impatient, reactive, never satisfied. A mind anchored in gratitude becomes resilient, not passive. Resilient. It can want more without being ruled by wanting. It can face difficulty without collapsing into resentment. This is why gratitude works best as a ritual, not a feeling. Feelings come and go. Rituals train attention. A simple practice is enough. At the end of the day, name 3 things that carried you. Not achievements, supports. Something that held, something that endured, something that stayed. Write them down or say them quietly. No one else needs to hear it. Over time, something subtle happens. Your mind starts noticing anchors during the day, not just at night. You catch moments of stability as they occur. You stop overlooking what's keeping you upright. That awareness becomes armor. Criticism doesn't cut as deep. Delays don't feel like threats. Comparison loses its grip because you're no longer measuring your life only by what's missing. You're measuring it by what's real. This doesn't make you complacent. It makes you harder to destabilize. Gratitude doesn't make you soft. It makes you grounded. And a grounded mind can move forward without fear, without bitterness, without losing itself in the noise. When you carry gratitude this way, not as decoration, but as defense, you stop living from scarcity. You move through the world protected by perspective. And that perspective is one of the strongest forms of strength there is. When gratitude settles in something important becomes clear. This was never about silencing your mind, or fixing yourself, or becoming someone else. It was about becoming someone you trust. Trust is built quietly, not in moments of confidence, but in moments of pressure. Not when things go your way, but when they don't. You've seen how the war really works, how thoughts appear without permission, how reactions try to rush you, how stories exaggerate pain, how environments shape your tone, how exhaustion distorts judgment, how gratitude steadies the ground beneath your feet. None of these insights matter on their own. They matter when you practice them together. Stoicism was never meant to be impressive. Marcus Aurelius didn't write to inspire strangers. He wrote to keep himself steady in a life filled with responsibility loss and constant pressure. That's the spirit here. This isn't about never feeling anger, doubt, or fear again. Those are part of being human. The Stoic aim was different: to meet each moment with clarity, to respond instead of react, to choose character over impulse, again and again. Over time, those choices leave a mark. You start to notice it in small ways. You don't rush to explain yourself. You pause before sending the message. You step away before saying something you can't take back. You respect your own word more. You don't abandon yourself for approval. That's what real confidence looks like. Not loud, not defensive, reliable. Being a man you trust doesn't mean you always get it right. It means you're willing to correct course without drama, without self-hatred, without giving up. When you slip, you notice. When you're tired, you rest. When your mind spins stories, you bring it back to facts. When you're tempted to react, you buy yourself 10 seconds. And those 10 seconds change your life in ways no one applauds. This is how inner strength is built, not through intensity, through consistency. One choice at a time, one moment at a time. If there's one thing to carry forward from this, let it be simple. You don't need to master everything at once. Choose one practice, just one. Pause before reacting tonight. Clean one space. Write down 3 supports before bed. Get 1 full night of rest. That's enough. The Stoics believed a good life wasn't proven by what you owned or how you were seen. It was proven by the quality of your choices when no one was watching. You're already on that path, not because you're perfect, but because you're paying attention. And attention is where change begins. If this reflection stayed with you, keep walking this path quietly. Return when you need grounding. Share it with someone who carries more than they say. In the next reflection, we'll look at how Stoics face disrespect without losing their power. Until then, take care of your mind, stand by your values, and keep becoming a man you can rely on.